In this next video, we'll talk about the scenario when we're asked to factor completely, right? So when we have a polynomial expression and we want to factor it so that it's a monomial factor, maybe multiplied by a binomial factors, and then each little piece is factored down to where it can't be factored anymore, right? So factored completely. Okay, so let's look at this example here, right? So on this one we have 4x cubed plus 20x squared plus 24x. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at these three coefficients, okay, and write out the factors of these. Okay, now this is the part where not all of you will have to write out the factors of these three numbers, but for the first example it's pretty nice, right? So 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Okay, for 20 I could do 1 times 20. Okay, I could do, fix that, it's going to bother me. Okay, so 1 times 20, we could do 2 times 10, I could do 4 times 5, okay, and that's it. So 24, I'd have 1 times 24, I'd have 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and that's it. Okay, so I can see that my greatest common factor out of all these numbers here is going to be 4, right? So that's the biggest number that they all have in common. Okay, so I know I'll be taking out a 4. Okay, let's see how many x's they have in common. Okay, well I've got 3 x's here, right? That's x times x times x. I have 2 x's here, that's just x times x. And I have 1 here, so it's just x. So they only have 1 x in common, so that's all I can factor out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and factor out an x here. Okay, and so now I'm just going to write what's left over. Okay, so remember, to figure out what's left over in your parentheses, all you're going to do is divide each of these terms by your greatest common factor, 4x. Okay, and 20x squared, divide that by 4x. And I'll divide 24x by 4x. And what I'm left over with here is actually just going to be 4 divided by 4 is 1, x cubed over x is x squared, right? And then 20 divided by 4 is a positive 5. X squared over x is just going to be x. And then 24 divided by 4 is a positive 6. And then x over x is just nothing, right? So that's all we're actually going to have at this part, right? Is this. Okay, so at this point I have a monomial multiplied by a trinomial. Okay, and so now I want to check and look at this trinomial to see if there's anything else I can take out of here. Okay, well, it's a trinomial. I actually think I can factor that with an x chart, so I'm going to check over here. Okay, my a, again, I'm looking at this part right here. My a is 1, my b is 5, and my c is 6, right? So my a times c would be 1 times 6, which is 6, and my b is 5. So can I think of two numbers that multiply to 6 but add to 5? Okay, well, 2 and 3 would work. Okay, so I'm now going to rewrite this entire thing as 4x multiplied by x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 3. Okay, and now this is my final answer. I have factored this completely. Okay, pretty cool. Okay, so let's check out another example. Okay, this next one here, I've got 5x cubed minus 25x squared minus 30x. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and guess here on this next one that I can take out a 5. Okay, because it's 5 and 25 and 30, so it looks like I'll at least be able to take out a 5. Okay, so I'll take out a 5 here. Okay, now I have a certain amount of x's in common, right? So this term has 3, this term has 2, this term has 1. Okay, so I like to write them out sometimes just so I know exactly how many they have in common, right? Well, they only have 1 in common. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take out this 1x as well. All right, and now I'm going to write out what's going to be left over after I divide everything by my greatest common factor. So to figure out what's left over, I'm going to divide each term by my greatest common factor, and I'll write what's left over. Right, so 5x cubed over 5x will just give me x squared. Right, negative 25 divided by 5 will give me a negative 5, and then x squared over x will just leave me with x. And then finally, I've got negative 30 over 5 will give me a negative 6, and then x over x will just sort of divide to 1 there. So now I have a monomial multiplied by a trinomial, and I'm going to go ahead and see if I can factor this part using my x chart. Right, so my a here is 1, my b here is negative 5, and my c is negative 6. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can multiply to a times c, which is negative 6, but add to my b term, which is negative 5. Okay, let's see. I think negative 6 and positive 1 would work in this case. Okay, because again, negative 6 times 1 is negative 6, and negative 6 plus 1 is negative 5. Okay, so now I can rewrite my entire answer as 5x multiplied by x minus 6 times x plus 1. And now I have factored this polynomial completely. Okay, in the next video we'll look at 2 more examples here so we can all be really comfortable with a situation when we're expected to factor completely.